We're live, hooray.
Hi.
Hi. So welcome to my LinkedIn live show, Lauren. It's wonderful to have you here. Now, I know you reasonably well, and so obviously I'm saying hi and I know exactly everything about you, but tell us, for people watching who maybe haven't met you yet, who are you? What do you do? How have you come to be where you are?
Wonderful. And it's so good to be here, Jessica. I really look up to you and admire you and love your business model. I know the work you do to help people create seven-figure consultancies is so important and so life-changing. So it's cool for us to be here
Oh, thank
together.
you.
So if we're
Yeah.
meeting for the first time, my name is Lauren Widrick, and I'm the founder of a company called Grab Life by the Goals, which you see right here behind me. And it is a mission of movement really to lock in your goals and make them so that they can't be messed with. I actually use a different word for that. We'll keep it off LinkedIn. It starts with the letter F, but your goals are unmessable with, let's say it that way. And if we're on a different platform, I'll tell you the real word. But I have been coaching for almost 7 years, which, Jessica, I can't believe. I started my business in early 2016. So early next year will be 7 years.
Wow.
And I got certified as a life coach back then when I was working on the trading floor of an investment bank. But really, over the years, all of this coaching has morphed into really, it feels like business coaching. It feels like life disruption coaching. So I've created programs to start a side hustle alongside a busy corporate job and a sales training program. And then as those programs grew over the last several years, what I noticed was that a community emerged without me even meaning for it to. All of a
Mm.
sudden, I would see my clients hiring each other and on each other's podcasts and promoting each other on Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm like, oh my God, did we create a micro economy? What's happening here? And so recently, literally as recent as this year, I've really made the community the heartbeat of the business, which is what we're here to talk about today.
Yeah, no, I love that, Lauren. And I've seen you say on LinkedIn as well that it's been a bit of an adjustment almost to feeling
Mhm.
comfortable to call yourself a life coach, because there can be some baggage attached to that. Like, tell us a little bit about what it's been like to make it your own, but also feel like confident to claim that yourself.
It's such a good point. It's funny because I come from the very left-brained world of investment banking technology. So I was almost embarrassed to tell people this dream of mine to become a life coach. And there is some baggage around the term. There's a lot of people who just hang a shingle and call themselves a life coach. And that's actually fine. I went through a really rigorous year-long coach training program. I don't think that's required, but I see why people kind of like, I don't know, roll their eyes or raise their eyebrows at the term life coach, because it's like, what does that even mean? Who is this person to help me fix my life? How are they qualified?
Yeah.
And so I think, if I'm being perfectly vulnerable, over the years, I felt, I don't know, a little safer calling myself an executive coach or a business coach, because then people would think I was smart and take me seriously. And those are good practices, but it's all really life coaching. Like, if you want to change your life, if you want to grow your business, if you want to get good at sales, you have to go inside and figure out what's going on in your brain, in your heart, your limiting beliefs, what you really want out of life. That matters to a sales goal, for instance.
Mm.
So it took about 6 years to really get comfortable saying, no, I'm a freaking life coach. I've got a lot of business training tools in my back pocket, but I'm mostly concerned with helping you create a life that feels intentional and feels like the one you want, not the one society has kind of placed on you because you went to college here or you hang out with this type of person.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think it's difficult almost, isn't it? I think we can be in situations where we feel like we need to sort of become bigger than we are almost in
Mhm.
order to get the right attention and be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And it takes time to establish that. And I wanted you to kind of go into the workings behind that a little bit for our audience today, because I knew that I knew there was a story behind it for you. And I feel like it is hard as a woman to be taken
Mhm.
seriously. I've totally had the experience of being like, oh my gosh, who am I to call myself a business coach? Like, when I first set up at that point it wasn't a company, it was like me just setting up a practice. But
Mhm.
like 8
Mhm.
years ago, walking into rooms full of men and just being like, oh my gosh, I'm so short. Will they take me seriously because of my height? But I think
Yes.
it's whatever it is for all of us. I think we just need to make our peace with it, don't we? Because
Mhm.
actually that can stand in the way of us having the impact that we want to have. And it doesn't usually take long for people to realize that actually we are completely awesome at what we do, and we can help them in ways that they just cannot help themselves. So like it's an interesting journey. It's almost a bit meta, isn't it? That like we need to go inside like ourselves as the coach, you need to like sort of really make your peace with a lot of those things and work out like what your take on it is all going to be.
It's very meta the way you said that, because I actually believe we have to do this work ourselves, on ourselves, if we're going to lead people through a similar transformation.
Mm.
And so I talk a lot in my marketing and my coaching about letting your freak flag out. And I
Yep.
say that word with love, like your best freakiest self. So when I'm on LinkedIn, I actually do drop a few curse words and, lightly play with jokes. I do stand-up comedy as one of my like many side hustles. So letting that stuff out is what actually magnetizes clients and the right type of clients to me. Because if I try and be too polished and too perfect and rely on my credentials and my background in investment banking, I mean, if I really, really went there, which I did for a few years, I would attract a certain type of client, but I couldn't be myself. I couldn't totally be myself and crack the same jokes and push them the way I can push the people, because the content I put out is like badasses only. You know what I mean? Like if you're here to play, you're here to play. And then being authentic is actually drawing your dream clients to you. So I think it's a win-win-win. It's more fun for you. Your business is more profitable. You serve the people you want to work with, and you love your job. You love your work because you're with the right people.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's almost like a bit of a cautionary tale, isn't it? Like if you attract in people by being the most perfect, polished, curated version of yourself, you're going to have to work pretty hard to maintain that image of perfection. And I think you can attract in clients who like they love that about you, and they're desperate for you to keep being that thing. So it can become a very sort of tiring way of doing business. And I love your brand because it is so authentic. And like that really resonates with me, because that's a massive thing for me and my business as well. I love to tell people the stuff that I've messed up. I mean, even today I had a delivery guy come to the house, and he was walking around. He was like, just so you know, your keys are still in the front door. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got home like 3 hours ago. What a stupid thing to do. But this is life, isn't it? Like stuff happens, and like you're walking through the door and like distracted by a million things. Like, I don't know, I think it's really healthy for us to be comfortable with the fact that we're not perfect people. And like, I don't know, we can be totally awesome at what we do, and like there are still things that are like not perfect. Like life is not Instagram, is it?
No, absolutely not. And that story you just told makes me more magnetized toward you as a leader, because you are running this amazing kick-ass business. You are helping women all over the world create 7-figure consultancies, and you leave your keys in the door sometimes. Like that makes you real and relatable, and it helps people get permission to forgive themselves for the messes and the little things they think are so bad.
Yes.
Look, women like Jessica, women like me are, I had a technical issue. We were a little bit late starting this live because of my stupid computer. I like to think as a CEO of a company, I'd know how to get a Zoom call started, but these things happen and we're still here to show up.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I really agree with you on that. Now, coming to the topic of community, making community the heartbeat of your business. I really love that. And I think, well, first of all, I just want to say there are some people watching and there's some thumbs up. Thank you so much for those. They make us feel really good.
Hi, guys.
If you want to ask questions as we go through these things, then like, seriously, like, in fact, hold on, I've had the wrong screen open. Oh, we've got some people leaving comments. So like, yeah, please do ask questions as we go through. We will get to the questions if we can. I'm just having a super quick scan. Yeah, Frank says life coach sounds like an Instagram poser thing. It can do, can't it? But like we've found a way to make it awesome. So all of that is to say, coming to the topic of community, I feel like it's a really difficult thing in a sense, because if we were talking 5 years ago or 10 years ago, it would be like, oh, like I want to set up a community, set up a Facebook group. Ta-da! Like all done. Whereas like I feel like these days community building it's exciting. It's kind of fractured into lots of different things.
Yeah.
But it's not as conveyor belted as I think it was. I mean, I don't know, Lauren, if you started off your business kind of on Facebook doing Facebook groups and things like that, or if that's still something that feels quite important to you, because like I know a lot of women who still have very successful Facebook communities.
Yes.
But I feel like at one point that was like the go-to, that's how you did it. So I'd be really interested to hear your take on kind of what it means to set up a community in today's world, post sort of post-COVID,
Mhm.
but like with in-person being a little bit back on the table, but we're not quite
Yeah.
sure how fully back it is. I mean, what would you say to all of that, Lauren?
These are really good questions, and I'll preface it by saying I am no expert on community building. I am figuring this out as I go, and the best thing I can say is put your thumb on the pulse of your people. So
Mm,
if your people want to gather at retreats, great. That might be the cornerstone of your community. If your people love to be on Facebook and chatter all day long, that might be the right way to do it. My people like a blend of coaching, community, and in-person events. And I only know that because I found that out as I coached them for several years. So for the last few years leading up to me launching the squad, which is the cornerstone product of my business now, if you come into my world and you're like, I want to start a business, I want to learn sales, I want to lock in my lifestyle, I will put you into this thing called the squad, and you'll pick a track and we will actually give you targeted coaching quarter by quarter on those topics. We're trying this out as we go because that worked in my coaching.
mm,
And what we found is my community kind of likes to party. So there is an in-person element. We're having a big conference in Charlotte, North Carolina, the first weekend of January. Here we have local meetups. We have people meeting up in their local markets. So I'm not giving you a very succinct answer because I think what you want to do is just read your people. I
mm,
never had a big Facebook group. I know a lot of coaches and businesses that did, and it worked beautifully for them. And it's not to say that I have anything against it. I just never did it. I had a little Facebook group. I dabbled around. I couldn't keep my energy up for the content machine of like feeding this, content machine into the Facebook group. But in my community now, it's a little bit higher ticket of a community.
mm.
It's probably about the price point of a group coaching program, and it
Yeah.
lasts for a year. But you actually get this target, a personalized goal roadmap for yourself. You get targeted coaching. You get guest experts every single week. We have an online platform called Mighty Network, which is a really cool platform. If you want to know
Mm.
anything about it, shoot me a message on LinkedIn. I should be a saleswoman for Mighty Network because it's really good. And then we have a course library, and then we have a content feed in the middle.
Mm,
So we're trying this out. It's been around for about 6 months as this being my
mm,
cornerstone product. Instead of coming into my Start Your Business program or my Sales Swagger program, you come here and we are listening and tweaking every month right now, making
mm.
sure that we're responding to it's like a living, breathing organism.
Yeah, I
So
think
that's
that's
all I can
really
say. I don't have like the
exciting.
perfect answer of like, this is the right way to build community. I think you just have to listen to your people.
Yeah, no, I love that. And like that's the thing. I don't think there is like one way only
Mm-mm.
to do these things anymore. I think that's a really exciting thing about doing business now is that actually like there's been foundation stones that have been put in place by kind of I mean when Facebook launched Facebook groups, it was like
Oh, yeah.
um if like there were just kind of there were generations of coaches who didn't even have a Facebook group who could just like post content in someone else's Facebook group and then
Mm-hmm.
people would book on for a discovery call. You would book yourself out using that technique. And like I think it's really refreshing to me actually that like that started to get stale quite quickly, I
Yeah.
think. But like the fact that you can now kind of almost like gather your people, find out what they want, that could look like anything. There are more tools. Like I like that you mentioned Mighty Networks because it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely it's something that I've heard really good things about. But it's like you can make it really custom to your people. It doesn't need to be like, oh, is it a group coaching program? Is it like a membership? It doesn't need to answer those kinds of questions because like we can be completely custom to what people want from us and what we want to give them as well.
You can be. I will tell you some of the challenges I faced building this community because it hasn't been like perfect smooth sailing. This thing launched in June 2022. So it's not even 6 months old in this format.
Mm,
Now we've got 45 members. And so I've got a nice, amazing group of people to be my guinea pigs in a way. They
mhm,
love me. I love them. And they're willing to work through some of the kinks. One challenge I've had is selling it.
mm,
So all of the people that know me, my alumni, the 1 degree out from my alumni, they're hopping in. That's not a problem. But when I took this community to market, it's taken people a hot minute to figure out what this is.
yeah.
Because a few people have been like, oh, wow, I mean, that's really expensive for a networking group. And I'm like, oh, crap, my marketing is off because this is not a networking group, right? This is a gold accelerator.
Yeah.
Or I've had people say, like, why is it a year long? Why can't I just do 3 months with you? Or people are saying, where does the one-on-one fit in? So I've created this thing that my people get. But what was missing in my sales and marketing was the transformation.
Mm,
I was selling the features and not the outcome. So I was like, look what you get. You get all these calls, all these experts, this really cool platform, all my courses, you get. And people were like glazing over.
Yeah.
They don't care about the list of features. They care about how it's going to change their life.
Yeah.
And so once I started talking about this being a goal accelerator, and I won't say the full word, but your goals become uneffable with. This is for Instagram, I'd say the word. But you want to start a business, stop playing around. I have a course for you. It will take 90 days, concept to cash flow. You'll come into this community and you will do that in 90 days. Or if you're on a sales track, you will come in and have a solid sales strategy and execute on those sales activities for 90 days straight, dramatically increasing revenue. So being clear about why they're joining and what's point A and what's point B has really changed everything, instead of just saying like, we do so much cool stuff in this community.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a really important point, because I say this to clients all the time, because when we are raising the price ticket, it can be really tempting to be like, I better stuff it full of things.
Yes.
And it's like, people don't want the things. If you give them too many things because you're trying to justify the price tag,
Yep.
you're just going to overwhelm them. They're going to cry. Like, actually what they need is to really see that transformation and know that that's exactly what they're looking to do.
Exactly. What's the transformation? And then why is this solution unique? And again, this kind of goes back to the insecurity of calling myself a life coach. What makes this transformation unique is, frankly, the vibe and the type of people. This is not stuffy. This is not boring. This is not by the book.
And I think as well, there's something there about creating a community of action takers who are exciting and high vibe. And like, I've found in my business, like just some things that I've been doing recently, the people who come along, they're like, I'm just sitting there being like, I can't believe these amazing people are here, because it's the energy in the room. And I think when you have had the experience of like signing on to some of these like massive programs where, you know, they will enroll 200 or 300 people every time they launch. But then very quickly you can get quite jaded by it, because everyone's allowed in. And so actually a lot of people, they're not really taking any action. They're just kind of sitting there being like, oh, you know, I paid the money, I'm waiting for the transformation to happen. It's like, well, if you're not doing the work, it's not going to happen. But I think when you start to like build your community around like that kind of that high vibe, that desire to take action, and like the women who really mean business and who are just like, this is non-negotiable, this is going to happen, that is a magical room to be in, isn't it? It doesn't matter what it looks like, but it's the sort of the energy of the room, the emotion of the room.
That's what you're investing in, and it's harder to quantify. But you need to be in a room full of action takers to inspire you to take action and to support you as you take action. And so you make a good point. If anybody here is thinking about community building, think about your vetting process for your community members. So there's no right way to do this. And again, I'm not an expert on this, but I have to imagine if you have a free Facebook group, you don't need much vetting, right? People can join. Maybe they answer those 3 questions on Facebook. But for the most part, if it's free or $20 a month, there may not need to be a lot of vetting. And then all the way up on the opposite end of the spectrum, I heard of this community called Genius Network. And some of the like thought leader luminaries in the world are in this network. And it's $25,000 minimum to join. And they have a very rigorous interview process, because they need to make sure people aren't douchey. They're not coming in to just take and not give. And so I've created a solution kind of in the middle. I personally interview right now because I can. We're only at 40 some members. I'll have team members to help me with this soon. But I'm personally interviewing every single person to make sure they're an action taker. They're a good, generous person who wants to be in a community. They're not just here to take, right? And there's some funny vetting. I'll share a personal story. If somebody needs more than one call with me to sign up, they're probably not it. Because my people they follow their gut, they're action takers, and they have a little bit of an appetite for risk. So if you need, I had somebody recently sign up with me, and they wanted a third. We had one discovery call. They had some follow-ups. We had our second discovery call, and they wanted a third. And I said, no.
Interesting.
I said, it is time for you to make a decision, because I needed to know if this person was a decision maker. Because if you're not, you're going to come in this community and really flail around. Luckily, this person got the memo and was like, okay, fine. Hell yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so just having the right standards and pre-qualification measures for your community, and making sure that you have like a diverse set of people from different industries. I mean, if my community was full of all life coaches, that could be a good niche. I mean, that could be a reason, but that's not what mine is. I want to make sure that we have people who are corporate ballers, and we have brand new entrepreneurs. We have seasoned entrepreneurs. We have people who are here to lock in lifestyle and have financial goals. Everybody can pull from each other because there's diversity of thought, diversity of lived experience, ethnicity, all of it.
Yeah, I love that. And I actually think that's really funny about the discovery calls, because almost without fail, my clients, they need two. So they're always like, by the time we've done one, like it's a big investment to work with me. Like I want people to make that feeling confident. But like literally, they almost always say, I think I need 7 days to think about it. So I'm like, right, shall we speak again in 7 days? And like, it's a thing now. It's part of my sales cycle almost. It's like, we are not going to nail this on the first call. Sometimes we do. And like, that's the thing. It's being open to it, isn't it? But that's the thing. If a decision hasn't been made by the second call, then I think what you're saying about kind of, not allowing them to stay in this place of indecision, that's actually a really helpful thing, isn't it? Like, just put some boundaries around there to be like, if you're ready for this, like now is the time. Like we're not going to just go around in circles for this whole decision making process. And I think that decision making is a really hard part of being a business owner. So
it's the hardest
almost
part.
starting to like show a little bit of tough love, like that's actually a very effective way. I'm not surprised at all that it's a really effective way to get people to really say yes or no for definite.
And I think your 7-day 2-call model is very in alignment with your business owners, because they're selling corporate, 6-7 figure corporate contracts. Those don't get closed in a phone call.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they're taking the same thoughtful process of analyzing the risk and the investment that they're going to walk their clients through. So it's a good match.
Definitely.
My container
I want people who have thought it through. I don't want people to bounce in and then be like, oh, I didn't really think about it. I didn't really know what it was going to involve. It's like, here's what it's going to involve. Like, if you say yes to this, we're going to do this work. So I want you to be in the room present, ready to do it. And if you're not ready to do that, then that's completely fine. But like, I think it's getting that decision point, isn't it? But sorry, Lauren, carry on.
No, that's exactly it. That's a perfect match for your client avatar and the type of business they're going to be doing. My community is $500 a month. So I'd call that like a low to mid price point. And it's meant to be a price point that's enough to make your butt cheeks clench a little bit. Like, wow, am I really going to invest in this? But it's enough where you can be like, I got to trust my gut here. I'm in. Because it's a goal. It matches the purpose of the container. It's a goal activation container. So I'm activating you.
Oh, I love that, because it's that thing, isn't it? You get that buzz. You're like, I'm investing in myself.
Yeah.
I am like taking, when you're taking meaningful action and you're starting to put a price tag on that and decide that, yes, you are worth it. I think that's a really important part to build into that whole decision-making process for people, isn't it? Because actually it gives you such a boost in your confidence to know that, yes, you are worth that. You're actually worth a ton more than that. And often the person who needs to know that the most is us, because we can operate in all these levels. And especially as coaches, I think we can be really good at helping other people see their magical selves, but then we struggle to see our own because everyone does.
Absolutely. And so I tell my sales students this: you have to be so obsessed with your offer that you literally can't shut up about it. And so I am enjoying selling the squad, because my coaching cohorts were multiples of $500 a month. Like minimum starting program was $1,250. And then I had one that was $2,500 a month. And I had no problem selling those. And I'm over here like, I can offer you the greatest bits of all of these things, all my courses, my community, my coaching, my training, the platform, for a fraction of that, because I've been coaching so long, I've got the infrastructure. And so this is what, if you're thinking about community building, I want you to think about this. How can I properly support 45 people? Whereas before, my cohorts were like 8.
Yeah.
8. I had one that was 12, and that was a little much for me as a solo coach. But like 8, let's say 8 to 12. How on earth am I supporting 42 people? And my goal is to get to 100 by April 1st, which is my 40th birthday.
Yay.
I have built systems and processes in my coaching. So Slay Your Side Hustle is a 12-module course. Over 100 people have gone through it. It is proven. Same with Sales Swagger, right? Less people have gone through it, but it's equally proven. I have dabbled with communities before. I did have a free Facebook group. Like I said, I tested this out earlier last year, and with some kinks, it didn't quite work out. And I have a team, and I have a community. I have a person whose full job is to manage the community, and we call her the community health director. So she does all the logistics, like scheduling the calls, posting the call recordings, but she's also keeping her thumb on the pulse of our member list and saying like, ooh, this person hasn't logged in a week. That's an issue. What's going on with them? Right? Or this person has really been on the struggle bus. Let's see if we can't like rally some support around him.
Yeah. No,
You know
I
what I
love
mean?
that.
And so I've
Yeah.
got that infrastructure in place. And my job now is to basically make sure that it's the healthiest, most fun, amazing, effective community. And then I've got people on the ground where they're coaching each other. The community manager is at play. My COO plays a big role in this company. So that's what I would say if you're thinking about community building is start small, right? You can do a Facebook group. That's fine. Or Mighty Network is like $39 a month. You can set this up and do it all yourself until you've got some repeatable processes and some team members you can bring in so that it's really a solid, well-run container.
Definitely. That's super helpful. And now there are two things that I want to ask you, Lauren. So the first is, like, I actually remember when we first like connected, it was probably about this time last year, maybe slightly earlier on in the year.
Yeah.
But I remember you were like, everything that I've been doing is great, but I feel like I want to reshape it into something new, but I'm like, it's kind of here, but it's not here. Like, when you get that, and we all get it, it's a good thing, isn't it? It's part of growth. It's part of developing in our businesses. I'd love for you to, if you're happy to, like, say a little bit about what it felt like when you had that like prompt that it's like, I want to do something bigger, like more expansive. But like, what was the process like of going from that like spark of an idea but not really fully formed to then actually being able to launch your new program this year?
So Jessica, you were very kind in the way you said that, because she saw me blubbering, crying, cursing because I was so frustrated with my
We all
business.
have those days.
Yes, no, you're so kind for saying like it was good, but you wanted more. I'm like, no, I was frustrated. I was fed up, because I'll start with this statement. The number one client of your business has to be you. And I know that sounds selfish. We're all service oriented. We want to serve others. But if you're not enjoying your business, if you're not getting the juice that you came for, you're going to burn out. I did that. It's going to be very frustrated. So I love teaching people how to start a business from scratch. And I love teaching sales. But that is not everything I want to do. You know what I mean? I felt like I had shoved myself into a box.
Yeah.
To the point where people on LinkedIn would reach out and say, I heard you're the side hustle girl. Can you help me? And I liked that. I'm like, okay, I nailed a niche, but I don't want to be side hustle girl. There's so much more to this. And over the last year, I had been dabbling's not the right word, but I had done a couple of events. I did 2 conferences and a retreat. And then I had dabbled with this Facebook group and this like $250 kind of community thing that wasn't really well executed on my part. And then, you know, I was doing coaching in these group cohorts and I'm starting to speak. And then I took my stand-up comedy lessons and I was like, it's close, but like, am I supposed to do 8 things at once? Like, what is the business model? That's what I was like screaming at my husband and my coach in the mirror. Like, what is the business model? And on March 31st, which is my husband's birthday, the day before my birthday, April 1st, he looked at me on the back porch. We'd poured a beer or whatever. And he goes, Lauren, you don't have to choose. You can do it all. Why don't you make a membership? And so I had the benefit of my husband, who's not in this entrepreneurial world, by the way. He works in banking. He's like, you should get to do all the things you want to do. Your business should allow you to travel. Your business should allow you to party. Your business should allow you to be funny. Your business should allow you to leverage the network that you've created. He's like, why don't you do it all? And we sat there for like 20 minutes and mapped out a membership. And we were like, this is it. Why limit it? I want my business to give me the lifestyle. And I will share this with fellow entrepreneurs. I'm offering so much more to my people for so much less money. And it's so much easier for me to deliver.
That's super interesting.
Honestly, like, let me tell you about my week. Mondays are off. You know, I work, but they're meeting free Monday. Tuesday is the coaching day. So I coach only on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, we have a guest expert come in and do a training on PR or biohacking or manifestation or finances, right? So the guest expert, I just get to sit and listen. And then on Thursday, we do the Get Shit Done Power Hour, which is just opening a Zoom call where we hold people accountable to their goals. And then I have a team meeting once a week. And everything else is optional. Everything else is me doing marketing or speaking or whatever. But like, I'm not coaching 15 hours a week because the infrastructure is there for me to properly serve people on the Tuesday coaching day. And then we have the accountability structures that happen on the other days. So I'm actually less stressed serving more people for less money.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I'm sort of like really grateful to my husband because I don't think I could have come up with this on my own.
But then listening to you say that, I'm like, well, the clues are all there because like those are the things that were lighting you up already. And I think sometimes we like a lot of the work that I do with my clients is getting a business model that actually works and will deliver 7 figures in revenue. But like a lot of the time it's like we're piecing together all these fragments that are already present, but they just haven't been pulled into one cohesive thing. And it looks different for everyone. But at the same time, it's so powerful, isn't it, to just get to a place where you're like, I can do this. I can actually do what I want. This is what I want to do. I am allowed to go and do that. But I think we are often the person who sees that last. And it can be really challenging, I think, when you're going through those like developing times. I think when you're just like, what is the goal here? Like what is the big picture? Because I think as well, when you like achieve your baseline goals in business and you're suddenly like, oh, I kind of did the thing that I thought might take 10 years. Now what do we do? And like allowing that kind of, you know, like what's your next mountain? Like what is the new vision? Like allowing it to reformulate. That is actually a really challenging thing. And when we're really busy and stuck in the thick of it all day, every day, there's no time for that to form. So like it's these periods, isn't it, of like reflection where we're just sitting looking at the business being like, what is the thing here now? Like what are we doing? But you have to give it that time to breathe and to just be able to like allow thoughts to come when they come. We can't rush that process, can we?
No, you're right, Jessica. And for your clients, I would remind them there's a market for every delivery model. So a lot of companies want retainer. They want your genius, you and your team consulting them on retainer. That's perfect. There are others that just want you to facilitate an offsite once a quarter. There are others that want you to write white papers for them. There are others that would love to be part of a mastermind across all of your clients.
Exactly.
There are others that literally you only need to fly in once a month. There's so many ways to do this. It just has to align with your energy blueprint.
Yeah. I
Being
think
on
that's
coaching
such an
calls 15
important
hours a
thing.
week, I did that for years. It actually exhausted me. But facilitating rooms and being on the stage actually really turns me on. And for others, that would exhaust and terrify them. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
people
but
like, I don't want to be on stage.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think it's understanding ourselves, isn't it? So I use wealth dynamics, which is a framework
wealth
which
dynamics.
helps
You taught me about that.
Yes, it helps you unlock your natural energy, and it gives you clues about what are the things that naturally energize you, how you can not just be depleted all the time. Because I think so often, and as women, I think we have this in our businesses, but we often have it like in our homes and families as well.
Yeah.
We are just giving out all the time. And so a really important thing for me has been like starting to look at my schedule. And I love the way that you're describing yours, Lauren, because like that simplicity, it's such a breath of fresh air when you're used to rushing around and like having to do all of the things.
Yeah.
But like for me, I don't work mornings at all anymore, because actually I need time, because I give out so much and I love to give out in my business. I love to support my clients in a really deep way. I can actually only do that if I've got time to be thinking all these things. And I love to like take my dog on, like this morning, I took my dog for a walk in like our local national park. It was a little bit hair raising because there's like free roaming cows. They're like those kind of shaggy cows with horns that are a little bit, well, I'm saying a little bit scary. I'm terrified of cows, but like my dog is like the most stupid creature when it comes to like cows and horses. She doesn't know how small she is compared to them. So she's like, I'll chase them, I'll bark at them. And it's like, oh my gosh, dog, we're going to die. So we had to like climb a little sort of rocky outcrop to go up and around where the cows had decided to be, since we'd sort of gone past the first time. But like it's just having time to do that and look at the sky and think thoughts and like carve out different days in your week for different things. I think that's such a empowering thing, because in corporate so often, you know, the hours can be very long, and I see a lot of women importing that into their business, even though actually that isn't something that they want to do.
I think we grossly underestimate the importance of thinking time. And I learned this when I worked in technology. I have an information systems degree, which meant I used to write code back in the day, terrible at it. But they would say you actually spend more time visualizing and figuring out the logic of the code than you do hands-on keys.
Yes.
And I wasn't going to show you guys this, but I spent this morning scratching out, this is my business model for next year. You don't need to read it, but like I spent about an hour figuring out like, these are the marketing sources that I plan to get paid for. So things like events, courses, speaking, a potential book, right? Like I'll get paid to market here. And then this is free marketing. So social media, podcast, other people's podcasts, PR, book tour, and hiring a speaker's agent. So I'm like, cool. All of these things lead to the attracting and magnetizing the perfect community members and clients. But I spent an hour with my coffee, just dinking around with a pen and a literal piece of computer paper. And that thinking time will actually become the basis of a a business roadmap for next year.
I love it. Yeah. And
And I do it for
it's
my
that
clients
problem
too.
solving, isn't it? It's like kind of, like, here are some things I'd like to do. Here are some things the business needs, like, and just allowing enough time for the ideas to come in, because they rarely come when we sit there being like, I must think of a solution. They usually come when we're doing something completely different, like in the
You're so
shower.
right. But Jessica, like we're talking about, if your business model doesn't allow for that, if you're so busy with client delivery and your sales pipeline
Mm,
and there's just no time to think, you're going to, this happened to me. You're going to burn out. You're going to be in a hamster wheel. You're going to get frustrated. Is this all there is? It's Groundhog Day.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And
Mhm.
as we've kind of mentioned, like for my clients, they are women consultants, they are delivering their services into corporates.
Yep.
I would love to hear, because obviously that's you come from a corporate background, Lauren,
Mhm.
and like a big thing that you used to help people do was like corporate women coming into creating their own business on their own terms. But like, what would you say in terms of like community? Because we've talked about some of these things almost from like a sort of coaching business angle. Um,
Yep.
and like that, it's interesting because I think obviously with corporate it's B2B sales, it can be completely different to what it's
Mhm.
like to run a coaching business. But I have increasing numbers of clients who they have built up an audience that then they can almost, they're corporate people in that audience, they will work for different companies, but because they're people, you can actually do things like run a successful blog, do email
Yes.
marketing campaigns and things,
Yep.
which typically you wouldn't set out being like, this is how to get corporate clients. So
Mhm.
what thoughts do you have in terms of how corporate facing consultants can understand community and start to build some of these elements in, even if it's in like a fully corporate setting?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the community absolutely still helps people start businesses and do sales. And I've done that B2B sales cycle. When I was doing executive coaching, I was flying around the country doing that corporate sales cycle, budget review, legal, vendor management, all of it. So I've had a few clients that sell B2B or sell to people who work in corporate.
Hmm.
And I've seen some really interesting ways they've done it. So for instance, if you are, let's say you want to become a corporate consultant and you want to do leadership consulting,
Hmm.
you can set up a monthly panel on LinkedIn. So you can pull together luminary leaders in your field and create a panel and then get these people to attend your panel, get the goodness, and then they'll join your email list. So your
Mm.
community can live on your email list. I have actually had clients have a lot of success creating LinkedIn groups. So this
Mm.
is the same experience as a Facebook group, but not on Facebook, if that's not your thing. I personally am not logged into Facebook in weeks. I'm kind of moving away from it.
Mm.
But if I were building a B2B consulting business and I wanted an audience, I would start simply with a LinkedIn group and I would make sure that it was highly valuable to my potential clients. So what is the thing your potential clients are struggling with? I have a past client who did data security. And so let's get together all the data security nerds, the CISOs, all the people who are responsible for that, the legal, and pull them in and let them have weekly Zoom call where you can chatter on it. It's optional, you can join, but you've got people dumping resources and putting links and things into this community.
Mm.
So that's a good place to start. If you are working in a hyper local market, so I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and there's a huge banking industry here. We've got Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and all these other mid-tier banks. If you want to sell to financial services, I would find other people that also want to sell to financial services and create a monthly meetup. And be
Mm.
like, look, I'm selling leadership consulting, I'm selling recruiting, I'm selling IT stuff. Cool. Let's trade war stories and see if we can help each other out. Maybe we can go in together on a deal, or I can refer you to one that wasn't for me. I'm literally just spitballing these ideas, but I think creating a network and a community of people where you're giving first
Mm.
can really, really come full circle for you.
Yeah, and I love that because I do think that like LinkedIn as a social network, it does have like all this amazing search functionality, but
Yeah.
I think people can feel like, oh, it's almost a bit of a catalog of like, here's people, but like turning it into something community based that is three-dimensional, that almost is living and breathing, and it's something that people want to become a part of. I think sometimes we can have like too much of a sort of two-dimensional expectation of like,
Yep.
this is how you use LinkedIn to create a business. Like you reach out to people and say, hello, I'd like to add you to my professional network. And it's like there is so much, even when you're corporate facing and you're not necessarily going to run a webinar or like do a 5-day challenge or some of these things. There are so many ways that you can apply that creativity. And one of the things that I often say to clients, I'm like, well, what would you actually like to host? What would you feel like doing? And a lot of my clients, well, some of them are introvert like me, but like lots of them are extrovert. And actually the thought of meeting in person is really exciting. And so starting to, I don't know, add their personality into that community formula for them. Like I believe really strongly, and I know that you do as well, Lauren, that actually we shouldn't be encouraging people to just do one thing. We need to be encouraging women to be in touch with themselves intuitively. So actually they're like, well, I want to do this, because it's that power of attracting the thing that you want rather than the thing that you feel like you should be.
That's it. I mean, if anybody listening is like, okay, I'm a B2B consultant, let's say, and I really like what they're talking about, I really want to create a community, not knowing anything about your business, I would say create a LinkedIn group, create some kind of panel or meetup once a quarter, like an in-person thing where you scout I would scout Charlotte and say, who are the luminaries that I would really want to meet myself, ask them to be on a panel, because people who are wonderful leaders will always share their knowledge. Create a LinkedIn event, invite all the people to that. And then in between, you can have a Zoom call once a month, or, you can take the responsibility of putting 1 or 2 links or articles into that community and start there. LinkedIn group takes 5 minutes to set up. An event might take you a few hours to put together, but it's easy enough. And then a Zoom call, you just open a Zoom link once a month. I mean, that's like a pretty good community on LinkedIn. Just to start, and then measure and see how it plays out.
Do you think it's always best to make it like linked to your region or your kind of city where you live?
That totally depends on your goals for the community. I have a client who has a alcohol-free community, and her online platform is nationwide, and it's local events around the Charlotte area. So again, it totally depends. If you are nationwide and you have like a niche market, like, I keep going back to data security, I don't know why, but like you have a thing that goes way beyond your local market, then make it an online community. But for me, the in-person, it just turns me on. I love being on stages. I love hosting retreats. I love being at coffee. I love the food. I love the wine. Like, having that stuff infused makes me like my own business more. It gets me out of my house in the suburbs.
Well, it's that natural energy that you get from it, isn't it? And if you're thinking like, oh, I've got an event, it's my event and I don't want to go. It's like, if you don't want to go, like, how is everyone else going to feel? Like, and I think it's hard to have integrity about promoting stuff that we're not excited about in our own businesses. So it's always a bit of a red flag, isn't it? If you're feeling like that, then it's like, is this the right model for you? Because like we should want to do the things that we're doing in our business, because how are we going to attract people in if we're having to like force ourselves to do it?
You've got to do what you want to do. I have a client who's a super successful financial coach, and she's like, I hate Zoom meetings. I avoid them at all costs. So 90% of her coaching takes place on Voxer.
Interesting.
And I'm the opposite. I hate Voxer, which is a voice messaging system, kind of like WhatsApp or voice texting. I can't stand it. Whenever it buzzes, I get freaked out. I'm like, oh my God, I don't have time to listen. I don't have time
to respond. It does buzz with quite a lot of urgency. Yeah.
I need my coaching to happen at a set time so I can get my mind right, instead of all day long trying to be like, oh crap, I missed that message from that person. So you can hear these are 2 totally different blueprints, both of which are perfect. Her clients love her because she's so responsive.
Yeah.
Right. And I physically can't offer that responsiveness. I need to like mentally prepare my mind to coach and facilitate. And so that's how we do it in my world.
It's so important that we know ourselves, isn't it? And that we know what we like. And I guess part of that, I'm imagining that you would agree with this, Lauren, part of it comes through like trying different things. And actually some things, like, they work great, but you're just like, I just don't want to do that. And that's okay.
That's okay. And like I said earlier, the squad, my year-long community, just launched in June. And so I think we nailed it about, I don't know, 60, 70%. Like, it's really good. And that other 30, 40% were like, that didn't work. Okay, we're going to try that better. Like, in all honesty. And I'm really happy. Like, my founders got a great founders rate to join because I knew it would be like that a little bit.
Yeah, like sort of taking them on a bit of a journey, and like they're joining at the start. So you're not quite sure exactly where it's going to evolve.
To some extent. Yeah. And so, like I said before, I was bringing people into this community and treating it like a buffet. You have all these things to select from the buffet, and what people want is guidance and a track. Like, I don't want a buffet.
Yeah.
I want to start my business.
Well, it's overwhelming, isn't it? When you join something, you're like, oh my gosh, there's a million things, and like now there's a million extra things in my calendar, and like I don't know, I just wanted to like use it for this one thing, or like I think quite
Yes.
often people have got a specific set of needs that they want, and you don't want them to feel like they now have to sort of be completely tribalized and like, you know, get the tattoo for your group and that kind of thing.
I would love everyone to get a Grab Life by the Goals tattoo. No, you're right. So some of the adjustments, I do not mind opening kimono for our audience here. Like some of the adjustments I'm making based on my learnings of what didn't work is we are only going to accept new members once a quarter.
Mm.
So starting in January, there's going to be a January pledge class, and then an April pledge class, and a July pledge class. Reason being, people like having, the community is going to get bigger, and people like having their people.
Mm.
And we're going to be putting people on one of 4 tracks.
Yeah.
So they're not just kind of like floating around all of these, like floating around the cruise ship. They actually
Mm-hmm.
are there for the fitness or for the food or whatever their thing on the cruise ship is.
Yeah.
And we've learned that from, trying it out the first way.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, Lauren. And like we're running out of time. I've loved this conversation. I knew it was going to be awesome. I always really enjoy talking to you. So thank you for being here with me. Thank you for everything that you've shared. Like you've been wonderfully like open and vulnerable about some of these things, and it's just so helpful for people to hear. Obviously we've referenced like both of our programs as we've been going through, but like where can people come if they want to find out more about you and your wonderful squad?
So I would say if you're watching this on LinkedIn, just shoot me a message on LinkedIn if you're interested in learning more about how I did this or to potentially join the squad, because I think one of the best ways to build one is to be in one, if that makes sense. So that's kind of meta, but there you can go to my website, laurenwidrick.com/squad. And then that page actually lists out all of the features, all the benefits, all of the things that that list of buffet items, but really think about what your purpose would be. Like I say, it's usually for my people, start a business, grow a business, career pivot, or lock in a particular lifestyle. And that's actually what I'm working on in my life, like a lifestyle business, fitness, wellness, meditation, spirituality. That's what I'm working on. So if I were to join my squad, I would take the lifestyle track.
Amazing.
So yeah, just go to laurenwidrick.com/squad or DM me on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear what your questions are. And like I said, I'm very open. I'll answer any questions that you have about working with me or building your own community.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. That is fantastic. Thank you to everyone who's watched. We've had some wonderful likes coming through as we've been talking, which is always encouraging. But yeah, it's been a real pleasure to be here with you all today. And I guess we will see you again soon for another LinkedIn Live show, 7-Figure Consultant Conversations.